Imagine waking up one morning after 60, not with stiffness in your back or that usual fog of fatigue, but with clarity, strength, and a renewed energy pulsing through your body, as if you were stepping into your most vigorous years again. Sounds impossible? I understand. But this isn't magic. It's science. Hello, I'm Dr. James, a certified men's health specialist with over 30 years of experience helping thousands of men reclaim their energy, confidence, and intimacy. And if there's one thing I've learned, it's that the decline most men experience after 60 isn't just about aging. It's about missing information. The truth is, your vitality doesn't just disappear after 60. More often, it gets quietly shut down by poor nutrition, sedentary habits, and emotional disconnection from daily life. But here's the good news. All of that can be reversed. In fact, a recent study published in the Journal of Urology revealed that adding certain foods, especially those that naturally boost nitric oxide, can significantly improve blood flow to male organs, one of the key factors in natural, sustainable performance. And I've seen it firsthand in my clinic. Take Michael, for example, a 64-year-old patient who came to me believing that his intimate life was over. But after just 5 weeks of making a few simple dietary changes and following one small morning habit, Michael didn't just regain physical function. He reignited a level of emotional closeness with his wife he hadn't felt in years. And no, he didn't take pills. You see, what we eat doesn't just fuel our bodies. It activates our nervous system, supports hormone balance, and deeply impacts how we experience desire, connection, and strength. That's why the right food starting today could be the turning point your body has been waiting for. Here's what I want you to remember. You don't have to choose between aging and vitality. You can have both. So if you're looking for a natural, science-backed way to reclaim your strength without drugs, gimmicks, or risky procedures, stay with me. In just a moment, I'm going to reveal a food that most doctors never talk about, but it holds the power to reignite your confidence naturally and permanently. Before we dive in, if you feel a spark of hope right now, type 1 in the comments to let me know you're ready. And if you think I could do better, type 0. I'm here to make every video more valuable. For you. Now, let's move forward and discover what this overlooked food is, and why thousands of men are quietly experiencing the most powerful chapter of their lives, starting with what they put on their plate. Let me tell you something that still gives me goosebumps every time I recall it. A case that didn't involve a new drug, a risky surgery, or an experimental therapy. Just one man, one decision, and a result that continues to ripple through medical conferences to this day. His name was David, a 53-year-old retired firefighter from Oregon. At first glance, David was the kind of man you wouldn't think needed help. Strong jaw, proud shoulders, still active. But inside, he was struggling. Years of silent cardiovascular damage had taken their toll. His erections were weakening, his energy faded by noon, and his heart, once unstoppable, was showing early signs of arterial stiffness. What changed wasn't a prescription. It was a mindset. You see, David had always thought he was doing enough. He'd eat salads during the week, skip fried foods, take his vitamins. But come Friday night, the indulgence returned. Cheese-laden pizzas, smoked meats, creamy sauces. It's just the weekend, he told himself. But the body doesn't reset on Mondays. Quietly, inflammation was building. Nitric oxide was declining and his arteries were hardening. Then something shifted. In April of 2022, after a particularly sobering cardiology checkup, David made a promise. Not to his doctor, but to himself. No more halfway. He committed fully to a whole food, plant-based lifestyle, not as a diet, but as a daily discipline. Leafy greens, berries, beans, whole grains, and omega-rich seeds became his medicine. And he didn't just nibble. He nourished. Within just 8 weeks, he began waking up with stronger, longer-lasting morning erections, something he hadn't experienced in over a year. His mood improved. His confidence returned. But most importantly, His relationship with his body transformed. He wasn't just reacting anymore, he was rebuilding. Inspired, he began consuming 6 servings of leafy greens per day, understanding their role in boosting endothelial function, the very lining of blood vessels responsible for releasing nitric oxide, a molecule critical for healthy blood flow and erectile strength. Over the months, his numbers told the story. His cholesterol dropped. His blood pressure normalized. But it was his International Index of Erectile Function, IIIF score, that drew the biggest applause, from a concerning 13 to a perfect 25. That's not a miracle. That's biology responding to the right conditions, and it's not just David. Thousands of men are waking up to this truth. The body, even in its 60s or 70s, still has the blueprint for vitality. All it needs is the right fuel, and a mindset that refuses to settle. I've seen patients in their late 60s cry tears of relief when they realize they aren't broken, just misinformed. And when they give their body whole, living foods instead of chemical quick fixes, it responds not just physically but emotionally. They walk taller, speak bolder, reconnect deeper. Because here's something you won't hear enough. Sexual health isn't just about performance. It's about identity, confidence, and emotional connection. And when circulation returns, so does that sense of masculine pride. Now let's move forward, because I know what you're wondering. What exactly makes these foods so powerful? What's inside them that rewires the male body toward strength, arousal, and vitality without the crutch of medication? In just a moment, we'll look under the microscope, literally, and discover the nutrients, the pathways, and the biological switches that can turn your decline into progress. Because aging isn't the end. It's the beginning, when you know how to eat for the man you still are. Now that you've seen what's possible through real food and real commitment, you may be wondering, what exactly made David's transformation so effective? The answer isn't hidden in a pharmaceutical lab or a late-night commercial. It's already inside your body, and its name is nitric oxide. When I first began researching what truly powers a strong, lasting erection, I felt both energized and frustrated. Energized because there was genuine hope for every man struggling with performance. Frustrated because almost no one was talking about it. See, nitric oxide is not some obscure compound. It's actually a vital signaling molecule your body produces naturally. Its job? To tell your blood vessels to relax and open up, allowing blood to flow freely, especially to the areas that matter most during intimacy. Without enough nitric oxide, erections become weak, slow to appear, or absent altogether. And here's the part most men never hear about. As we age, our body's natural ability to produce nitric oxide quietly declines. No warning, no symptoms at first. Just a slow fading of vitality, until one day, you wonder where your energy, confidence, and edge went. I've seen this subtle decline devastate not just bodies but spirits. Men who were once full of drive suddenly feel disconnected from themselves and their partners. But here's the good news. This process is reversible. You can rebuild your nitric oxide levels naturally, without pills, without surgeries, and without gimmicks. How? Through food. Real, living food. Leafy greens like spinach, arugula, kale, and Swiss chard aren't just good for your heart or waistline. They're the fuel for your masculinity. These greens are rich in dietary nitrates, which your body converts into nitric oxide through a complex yet elegant biological pathway. And when that pathway is active, your blood vessels respond. They open, they pump, they nourish. Not just your muscles, but your mind and your manhood. Let me tell you about another patient of mine. Richard, 61, a high school math teacher who'd quietly lost touch with his vitality. After learning about nitric oxide, he made one change. He started blending a daily smoothie with spinach, beets, and lemon. That was it. Within weeks, he noticed stronger morning erections. Not only that, he told me his focus at work improved, his knees stopped aching, and for the first time in years he felt emotionally present with his wife. That's the power of circulation. It doesn't just revive function, It restores connection. Because here's something we don't say enough in medicine. Physical health and emotional intimacy are not separate. They move together. When the body is well fed, the mind is clearer. When circulation improves, so does courage. And when nitric oxide flows, so does life. So why don't more men hear about this? Simple. There's no profit in spinach. But there is power. And it's available to you right now. If you start with just 2 servings of leafy greens per day, whether in a salad, a smoothie, or sautéed with garlic and olive oil, you're already sending a signal to your body. I'm coming back. Now let's move forward. Because what happens when we step back and look beyond just 1 or 2 men? What does the science say when we examine thousands of cases across different ages, races, and backgrounds? Is this a miracle reserved for the lucky few? Or a biological reality that any man can access? The answer may surprise you more than you expect. Stay with me, because what you're about to learn next could completely shift how you think about aging, strength, and what's still possible after 60. If David's transformation inspired you and nitric oxide gave you clarity, then what I'm about to share next will give you certainty. Because while one man's breakthrough is powerful, it's the mountain of hard scientific data that truly reshapes belief. In my decades working with men over 60, I've seen firsthand how deeply emotional and personal sexual decline can feel. But I've also seen how minds begin to shift, not just with hope, but with proof. And when it comes to reversing erectile dysfunction through nutrition, the scientific evidence is no longer a whisper. It's a roar. One of the studies that first caught my attention was the nanny study. I remember reading it twice just to be sure I wasn't exaggerating what I saw. Over 2,500 men closely tracked, carefully assessed. The finding? Those who followed a plant-forward diet, rich in vegetables, fruits, whole grains, had a dramatically lower risk of erectile dysfunction. We're not talking minor differences. The results were statistically significant, repeatable, and very real. And these weren't young athletes. Many of these men were in their 60s and 70s, living proof that change is possible at any stage of life. But I didn't stop there. I dove deeper. One massive long-term study tracked over 21,000 male health professionals for decades. And again, the pattern was unmistakable. The men who adopted healthier dietary habits had an 18% lower risk of developing erectile issues than those following the standard Western diet. Think about that. Nearly 1 in 5 men avoided a struggle that so many accept as normal aging, simply by fueling their bodies more wisely. And just this year in 2024, a comprehensive meta-analysis pulled together data from 14 different studies across nearly 27,400 men. The verdict? Crystal clear. Diets low in saturated fat and high in plant-based foods like the Mediterranean or whole food vegan patterns consistently protected against the sexual decline that too many men suffer in silence. This isn't wishful thinking. This is reproducible science, across countries, across age groups, across lifestyles. Hearing about one man's victory is inspiring, but knowing that thousands of men around the world are walking the same path, that's powerful. That tells me, and I hope it tells you, that you are not alone. The road to reclaiming your strength isn't uncharted. It's paved with stories, statistics, and systems that work. And right now, you have the opportunity to become part of that growing movement. Maybe you're wondering, so what exactly should I eat? What foods can I put on my plate today, tonight, to start rebuilding my energy, circulation, and confidence? Stay with me, because in just a moment I'm going to share specific, delicious, and accessible foods that don't just help you survive aging, they help you thrive in it. Now let's move forward and take a closer look at these natural tools, nutritional keys that may be simpler than you expect and far more powerful than you've been led to believe. After presenting the data, the studies, the patterns, the biological truths, I often hear the same question from my patients, spoken with sincerity and hope. Doctor, just tell me what to eat, and I'll be honest with you. That moment is my favorite, because it signals a shift. It tells me they're ready, not just to listen, not just to wish, but to act. ready to stop waiting for some outside miracle and begin creating their own from within. So here's exactly what I tell any man sitting across from me in my clinic, looking to reclaim his strength. You don't need a complicated diet chart. You don't need to count every calorie or obsess over every gram. You need to eat like your life, and your circulation depends on it. And it starts with leafy greens: spinach, arugula, kale, Swiss chard, collards. These aren't just salad fillers. They are biological catalysts, packed with natural nitrates that your body transforms into nitric oxide, the very molecule that reopens blood vessels and reawakens your intimate potential. Then, bring in whole grains: oats, brown rice, quinoa. These deliver clean, steady energy without clogging your arteries. You need this metabolic stability not just for performance but for stamina and confidence throughout the day. Nuts and seeds, like almonds, walnuts, flax seeds, and chia, aren't just snacks. They're anti-inflammatory powerhouses rich in healthy fats supporting your heart and improving vascular flexibility. And don't forget berries and citrus fruits, nature's antioxidants. They protect the endothelium, the delicate inner lining of your blood vessels, allowing them to function optimally. In the kitchen, make extra virgin olive oil and avocado oil your staples. Ditch the butter, the margarine, the heavy processed fats. These oils nourish your cells while supporting smoother blood flow. And then, beans, lentils, black beans, chickpeas. These humble foods are often overlooked, but they're plant-based protein heroes that lower inflammation and keep blood sugar steady. Two major keys to restoring vitality. But for all this to work, there's one hard truth we have to face. You must remove what's blocking your recovery. That means letting go of red meat, processed meats, greasy takeout, sugary snacks, and soda. These aren't just guilty pleasures, they're silent thieves. Every bite chips away at your circulation, your energy, and your identity. This isn't deprivation, it's liberation. It's saying no to decline and yes to dignity. And when my patients ask, "Doctor, how long before I'll feel a difference?" I smile because in many cases, sometimes shockingly so, the body responds quickly. I've had men in their 60s tell me that within 10 to 14 days they noticed stronger erections, steadier energy, and even clearer mental focus. Not from supplements, not from injections, from food. So if you're wondering when your turning point could be, it might be one grocery trip away. Now let's move forward, because in the next few moments I'll share how to combine these foods into simple, delicious meals you can enjoy daily. Meals that don't just taste good, but rebuild the man you know you still are. By now you know what to eat. You've seen the science, you've heard the stories. But one honest, essential question remains. Doctor, how long will it take? I hear this often, from men who are ready to commit, who finally allowed themselves to believe that change is possible. And I understand the urgency behind that question. Because when you've spent years believing that decline was inevitable, the moment you discover there's a path back, you want to feel it now. Let me tell you exactly what I've witnessed, not just in research, but in real men I've worked with for over 3 decades. The body responds faster than most people imagine. For some men, small but meaningful changes begin in just a few weeks. Maybe it's a stronger morning erection. Maybe it's more steady energy throughout the day. Or even just a quiet surge of confidence they haven't felt in years. These early wins are like the first rays of sunlight after a long, dark night. Proof that the system still works, that healing has begun. By the 3-month mark, I've seen dramatic improvements in many of my patients. Blood flow increases, erections become more reliable, mental sharpness returns, and there's a growing sense of empowerment, like they're finally back in the driver's seat of their own health. But here's where it gets even more inspiring. Men who stick with the process, who view each meal as a choice to build, not just consume, often see transformations within 12 to 18 months that they once thought were behind them forever. Men like Thomas, 67, a retired truck driver who once thought intimacy was over for him. After a full year of consistent plant-forward eating, Thomas told me, "It's not just that I can perform again, It's that I feel like a man again. And that matters deeply. No, it's not magic. It's biology, activated by consistency and care. This isn't a quick fix. It's a lifelong upgrade. The men who get the best results are those who stop asking, "What can I get away with?" and start asking, "What does my future deserve?" And that future is built one plate at a time. But here's the question that often follows. If the benefits are so profound, why don't more men do this? Why aren't they lining up for spinach, lentils, and beets instead of prescriptions? The truth is, many men never begin because they doubt it will work for them, or they believe they're too far gone, or they've been conditioned to chase convenience and comfort over commitment and change. And sadly, some never hear the full story in time. Now let's move forward, because in the next few minutes I want to show you how to remove the final obstacle. The mindset shift that can make the difference between another year of frustration and a future overflowing with strength, connection, and pride, because it's not too late, not even close. At this point in the journey, you might be wondering, if the science is solid, if the results are this promising, then why aren't more men doing this? It's a question I've asked myself countless times, especially when I sit across from a man in my clinic whose eyes carry a quiet ache, regret, frustration, and that unspoken question, why didn't someone tell me this sooner? The truth? It's not their fault. Most men grow up being taught that decline is a natural part of aging, that when things start to weaken physically, emotionally, sexually, it's just part of getting older. They're taught to accept it, to tough it out, to not question it. But that narrative, it's wrong. And honestly, it always was. The reason so many men miss this opportunity is simple. We don't talk enough about real healing. Society sells quick fixes. A pill here, a procedure there, a silent promise that you can skip the hard part, bypass the root cause, and just mask the symptoms. But what they never say is that those fixes often come at a cost: dependency, side effects, or a deeper disconnection from your own body. Rebuilding your strength through nutrition and lifestyle, that takes effort. It requires patience. It demands commitment, and sadly many give up before they ever give themselves the chance to win. But you're different. You're here. You've kept listening. You've opened yourself to the possibility that you are more powerful than you were led to believe, and that changes everything. See, the men who succeed in this path, the ones who reclaim not just their erections, but their identity, aren't superhuman. They're simply the ones who stopped chasing shortcuts and started honoring the long game. Like Robert, a 72-year-old retired engineer who told me, "I used to think the best years were behind me, but now, I feel like I'm just getting started." And he meant it. His posture changed. His eyes lit up. His marriage transformed, not from a magic pill, but from real food, real effort, and real belief. And here's the truth. It's not too late. Not even close. In fact, for many men, this chapter becomes the most vital, connected, and empowered part of their entire life story. Because they finally take the wheel. They finally understand they can influence their health instead of surrendering to it. So the question isn't, is this possible? The question is, are you ready to claim the strength that's been quietly waiting inside you? Because what comes next isn't abstract theory. It's measurable, it's tangible, and in many cases, it's rapid. Now let's move forward because, in just a moment, I'm going to show you exactly how fast your body can begin to respond once you give it what it's been silently craving for far too long. Every man at some point stands at a quiet crossroads, the moment he must choose between continuing on autopilot or stepping boldly into a new chapter. If you've made it this far, it tells me one thing. You're not just curious. You're ready. Ready to question old narratives. Ready to invest in your body. Ready to honor the life that still pulses inside you. We've talked about how real food, not pills, can rebuild circulation and vitality. How nitric oxide is the body's natural ally. How scientific evidence, not just stories, shows men over 60 rediscovering their strength. And how the greatest transformation doesn't begin with age, It begins with a decision. The good news? That decision is in your hands. Every meal you choose from today, every moment you move with purpose, every time you resist the quick fix in favor of real healing, you're sending your body a signal. I'm not finished. I'm just getting started. This journey isn't about chasing youth. It's about choosing presence, choosing a body and a mind that work together, choosing to believe that the best years aren't behind you, they're ahead. So now I turn it to you. What did you learn today? What small shift will you make this week to move closer to the man you know you still are? Leave a comment below and share one thing you're taking away from this video. It can be a new habit, a fresh insight, or even a commitment to simply start. Let's support each other. This community grows stronger with every voice. And if this message resonated with you, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't yet, consider subscribing and tapping the bell icon. Not as an obligation, but as a quiet step toward momentum. New insights are coming, and I'd love for you to be there when they arrive. Thank you for spending this time with me. Now go live boldly and choose strength one day at a time.